I like his finger guns.
I like his whole outfit.
Are you talking about buff C-3PO?
Okay, I guess I have to also like introduce everybody instead of just recording. Hello there, welcome to Backlogged, a podcast in which four buddies discuss Power Rangers Time Force. I'm joined by Thomas, Emily.
Hello.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thomas,
Hello.
Emily,
Hi.
John,
Hello.
and I also would be John, but since everyone here calls me Cifuentes anyways, I'll go by my last name, Cifuentes. Alright, so episode 1, we open up with a futuristic cityscape and narration, and we are told that Time Force Police has cleared all criminals but one, Rancic.
That quote stuck in my head for the entire episode.
Which one is it? Time Force Police cleared all criminals?
Yeah, no, just all the criminals have been cleared off the street except one. And I'm like, oh, so there's exactly one criminal?
Yep. Exactly, they have nothing better to do, nobody else, and they still can't get this guy.
Not only that, like, 3 more villains show up in this first episode.
Things that make you go,
I assume it was...
Like, it's one thing, like, there's the blob guy, and he's already been arrested, so I guess he's technically off the street at the time of the opening crawl. But Rancic's daughter is clearly a criminal and clearly not off the street.
I don't know how active she's been, because they definitely noticed her when she was at the trial.
I don't think they did. I know we noticed her.
I don't know if she was, like,
All
quote-unquote in disguise, or if she was, like, actually, a wanted criminal then.
So, Time Force Police cleared all criminals but one, and then we cut to a raid in which Rancic says the line, "If I can't rule the present, then I'll just rule the past." And then the Red Ranger enters scene alone. And then it cuts to the sick intro. Then my next note is Jen is so beautiful, the epitome of early 2000s fashion. So I don't think I have a plot point for that. I think I just commented on how pretty she is.
I suppose I did have a point when Alex faces Raznik. I keep typing him as Resnick, and I realize now that his name is Raznik. And
It's
also
Rancic.
Rancic. Oh my gosh. And it's even in the title credits. I think I've just been writing it wrong. And I've watched this episode like 3 times now. It seemed like a really bad idea for him to face Rancic alone. Like, I know they weren't comparing sizes, but I am definitely comparing sizes, and I know that he's a great fighter, but it just seems a little cocky to go in, to just assume that you have it. Meanwhile, people were outside ready to help at any moment, and they didn't.
Yeah, so there's like a standoff, and like police have surrounded the building, and then Jen enters the scene and goes, "Where is he?" As a whole bunch of cops are surrounding a building.
And then her captain points at the building, and she's like, I see, yes.
He goes in there, and that's it. And I was really hoping from there that was going to be the only line of the captain. That was going to be his straight-up only line throughout the series. was he points and says in there. But it was so monotone, and I loved it. And at first, I didn't think she was talking about Alex or Alec. I thought she was talking about the villain. Like, where is he? And he's just in there. And that's it. It's just. I love the bad acting, because none of them are good at it, but especially the captain.
I really like Rancic's acting because he's just so dramatic. He's such a drama.
He's yeah, I know. And I out of anybody, I think his acting's the best, honestly.
He's making it work for the character.
Yeah, I think it works. I like his whole character where he just pulls bones out of his body and their swords and weapons.
it makes such a terrible noise as he does it.
I love that so much.
He makes a noise like it hurts too.
Yeah, like he makes a noise like he's ripping out his actual shin bone, and I'm just like, no, dude.
No, I love that. It is so sick in so many ways.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a good thing for a villain. I think that really works for a good villain, is to make some sort of attribute of him just disgusting and vile, and I think that's really good for him.
Good for him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for that villain. He's got I think that's an excellent villain ability, and he's got that like futuristic like half cyborg head.
I think it's just a mask.
The way he like looks like he's covered in currently untreated 3rd-degree burns made me think it was like part of some just we're 1,000 years in the future, but healthcare, instead of like fixing his skin, just gave him some tinfoil.
Right. I thought like, oh, part of it's just covering up some burns, but also a bunch of it is not covering up burns, so it's definitely just a fashion choice.
Yeah.
Rancic is definitely like one of the most fashionable people in the show, because later we cut to him walking and he's wearing some platform boots.
I have notes
he's
about
like
the boots.
decked out in leather.
I have notes about his whole outfit.
Bro, this man like knows what he's doing. He's styling.
A form and function, by the way.
Another thing is like during the fight, I wonder if he let himself lose, because he absolutely bodies the Red Ranger later on. Like very soon. Like it went from like the Red Ranger came out skeeved, like he's got no bruises or anything. He's like, that was an okay fight. And he was outnumbered. And then in this fight where later on he just beats him, it's like it's barely a minute and it's done.
I agree with Thomas, one, that he was throwing that first fight because his daughter wasn't even there, so if you beat the Red Ranger, he's still like surrounded by police.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree. I think he might have thrown it because it's revealed later that his ultimate plan is to get to the prison with the time warp machine. But he's initially doing it at a warehouse, so it makes sense that like if he gets apprehended, he might get like location as to like, oh, now I know where the prison is. I don't know though.
And then they break out the one guy who happens to be at the prison at that time.
Yeah,
like it's sort of implied that they might know him, I guess, but it just seems like he was literally the only option, and that's why they took him with them.
After the Red Ranger, who's Alex, and Rancic face off, it just cuts to Rancic getting arrested, and after that, it cuts to Jen and Alex like looking like over a cityscape. And then, like, when they're talking, Jen is like, I can't believe I'm going to have a date with my boyfriend. And then what is Alex saying in response?
Oh, I was thinking of something more permanent.
Actually, I was thinking of something a little more permanent.
So, at first, I'm commenting on the whole proposal. At first, I was like, well, that was underwhelming. And I was thinking about it. His timing was so good. That was actually, bless you, that was actually some pretty good timing, and I think that's even more important about extravagance or anything like that. I will say, though, not a fan of the ring.
Was the ring ugly?
It was pretty ugly.
That's just fashion in 1,000 years.
If the acting wasn't so bad, like that scene could have been a bit more better played, because this is like a time in their life they obviously had dedicated a lot of their time to taking down this guy. And then once they did, they're like, oh, we can live like a happy life together. This is the last criminal.
Yeah, it's like they're all out of a job if this court, like it's like they can end the police. Like, there's no need for them.
We can celebrate, so you guys are fired.
I like paused the episode for like 5 minutes writing notes after just that one, like, the last criminal. I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me there's like a whole ass police force and they're down to one criminal?
Yep.
Yeah, that proposal, I agree, good timing. But my only thought while watching it was just, I don't know if it was just the way Alex was acting, but I was convinced he was about to dump her.
Rejected! Rejected! Yeah, you just got rejected!
He just looked so, like, melancholy and sad when she was like, I can't wait to go on a date, and he's just like...
I'm looking for something more permanent, like not us ever again.
Like, I've seen this episode before, and I still thought he was about to dump her.
I will add, during this proposal scene, there is a clip where Alex is like looking at Jen and is doing the blue steel look.
What is he doing with his mouth?
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
While,
yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, like Like it cuts to him looking at Jen doing blue steel.
What expression is that? What is he trying to convey?
I think he's just trying to like
Look sexy.
because the actor plays two characters. He plays Alex and Wes, who we meet later. So I guess they're trying to differentiate the characters because one does blue steel and one doesn't.
That's the only difference.
Ben Stiller looks so concerned. He looks like ready to fight. It's like, what did you just tell me?
I mean, I think that's always part of it.
I think, to be honest, I think the actor does really well at portraying which one's Alex and which one's Wes.
Yes.
So after this proposal, it cuts to the scene we were talking about earlier, the courtroom where he is found guilty, and there was an interesting line, which is when like the counsel announces his verdict, he's like, Rancic will have cryogenic detainment, pause, for life. And then the room erupts into like cheering. And the reason I find this interesting is because the fact that there was a pause between saying that cryogenic detainment and for life implies that some people are cryogenically detained for X amount of time.
So the way I think their prison system works is you're normally, like, that's their solitary confinement. Is instead of putting you in solitary confinement, they put you in this cryogenic state. So that way you can't actually cause harm to yourself or anybody else around you.
But is it always for life, or are other people just facing like time?
I'm assuming people just face, like I said, I think this is just a solitary confinement state, or their thing for it, so they can have some time in solitary confinement and some time in regular prison.
But if they're cryogenically frozen, like they'll just wake up and nothing happened, right?
See, you're missing the thing. I wrote down the note. So they're down to the last criminal. How did they do it? Cryogenic detainment for life? That's just a euphemism for freeze to death. Just, your punishment? You will be frozen to death. Simple.
It's not a death sentence because, okay, spoilers, like...
Yeah.
The monster of the week is when Rancic unfreezes a prisoner and lets him loose on the city.
Yeah.
I figured.
So they're not dying.
Yeah, no. Your punishment is you're teleported into the future, or we like fail our containment and you die while frozen or something.
But his specific sentence, cryogenic detainment for life, is basically just then a death sentence, more costly with less security. The security being that he can get out.
Yeah, because he's going to be frozen for like the rest of his life.
I guess it does give the option of like a retrial, like if new evidence comes out that he actually wasn't trying to enslave humanity or
but
whatever.
You're frozen.
Just,
like you missed out on like your family growing up or something. Like you come
listen.
out like 300 years later.
Well,
and you're the only one.
I assume this is like a more drastic sentence than regular prison. I assume they also have regular prison.
But what's the point of like cryogenic detainment for X amount of years? Because like if you experience it in the blink of an eye, like there's no rehabilitation. You're gonna come out the exact same.
Like I don't think we need to sugarcoat this. It's their way of selling action figures.
Right.
This dude killed a bunch of families.
$5.99.
$5.99.
They couldn't say, okay, well, we can't put him in jail for life, and we can't kill him. Well, what's good to tell children? Cryogenically frozen for life.
That's a big word for children.
I feel like there's also a fascination for that in the early 2000s.
It makes the cops look like the good guys.
Speaking of all that and the courtroom, did you see Nadira's courtroom outfit?
Yes. Honestly, Nadira's outfits throughout the whole series kind of slap.
I agree.
I think that's her thing, is just fashion.
While I find it a bit on the nose, they do well with like pointing out, that hey, you haven't met this character before, but this is clearly a villain helping Rancic in this courtroom.
Oh wow, the hat.
I know, it's the hat and the necklace.
Is that a leather jacket too?
And
Leather
the
was
leather
really
jacket.
popular this time.
It's just the whole thing.
We're all coming like hot off the Matrix, so leather's
Yeah.
in.
Also, like we mentioned that she's his daughter a couple times. I was not expecting that when they called it out. And
Me neither, and I've seen this before.
yes, same.
Wait, what were you
was like,
expecting?
I don't know, she was just like a sidekick?
I figured villain love interest or something.
Or that, yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to have a daughter. That's just uncommon, I think, for villains.
She does call him daddy a lot.
That I think that's just an early 2000s thing. I'm not gonna. It was the past. They didn't know we would ruin it.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure the Daddy King didn't come out till like at least like 2010 or later.
Okay, the Daddy Kink has probably existed since like before written language.
I meant more
Right.
like I don't think the Daddy King was like mainstream until then.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you like an indie? Are you an indie person, Thomas? Are you a hipster? Were you into Daddy Kinks before it was cool?
No, I'm
personally?
just saying. Well, I can't be like, yeah, 2001. Me, 5-year-old me didn't know what the Daddy King was, therefore it didn't happen. You know, I can't really.
I do agree that it wasn't quite the that it may be now.
As far as the courtroom goes, I have a point about Lucas and a point about Circuit. The first being in response to Katie's Rensick is going down for sure. He says, "Nothing's for sure."
Nothing's for sure.
Major points. Love that as his very first line. Wisdom, grace, power, ranger.
Yeah, I agree.
Love it.
I just found him being really annoying right there.
Oh.
Like, everybody's excited. They accomplished their last goal as police. And he's just
The last
like,
criminal.
yeah, and he's just like, anything could go wrong.
I kind of like that as a character, though. He's more like realistic. He's like, he knows it's taken this long to be taken down. He's like, this is too good to be true. He has to, this could be something. I want to stay on my toes.
He says, "Oh, I hear an absolute." Well, you shouldn't speak in absolutes. And as far as Circuit goes, I don't know what to think about him. He just seems like a very smart child.
Trip, I can't see anything down here. Would you help me up?
Please, Circuit, this is a courtroom.
He is useful, though.
He just shows up.
Yeah.
Like all the characters, Circuit also just annoyed me from his first words.
The amount of time between being arrested, going to trial, and then going to prison is pretty quick. I think it's implied that it goes back to back to back.
Well, this is like, I think partially because like the movie's geared towards children. They want to keep everything very fast paced. So it leaves not a lot of room for plot development.
Like, the show starts with a fight with the Red Ranger in it, like, at the start. So, like,
Yeah.
this is pretty well paced and pretty quickly paced as well.
I did notice they
Yeah.
reached a verdict right off the bat, and I thought, from everything I know about the U.S. justice system, he's definitely guilty.
I like that there wasn't a jury. It was just the panel of judges has decided your fate.
And the cops that arrested him are there as like, the people.
I like how the judges aren't even actually there. Like, this wasn't important enough to show up in person.
The last criminal.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last criminal. You're doing this in your house, man. Like, where are you? Come on. I think you deserve to show up in person.
Okay, so I gotta jump ahead a little for this. Nadira is here in the courtroom. The show telegraphs to us, the viewers, that she is a villain. She gets to the prison later on, and the guards are like, "It's Nadira." So that implies that everyone in this courtroom did not recognize her. But those two random guards at the prison knew who she was.
And it's not like she was really hiding herself.
It's the hat. The hat, you know.
You could see her bright
You know what
pink
you want to
hair.
do when you want to go undercover? If Marvel has taught me anything, it's sunglasses and a hat.
It's a 31st century hat.
Bright pink hair. How are you gonna miss that?
Well, Trip has bright green hair, and there are some other people with colored hair in the back.
Yeah, it might just be a fashion sense.
I don't
thing.
know.
Or if I
back.
like, I think mutants and aliens also have colored hair, so like it doesn't really stand out.
I guess, but nobody even like questioned it.
No, I mean Trip is a cop and he has green hair.
What's your point?
Like just because you have colored hair doesn't mean you're gonna stand out in this universe.
Name one other person in the whole series with pink hair.
Oh, with pink hair, I don't know.
But also, like, nobody even thought to even question whether it was Nadira.
To be like, hey, who is she at this, the last trial to ever happen?
At Nadira's dad's trial.
I wonder where his daughter is right now.
No, wait, maybe she was there as his daughter? You know how, like, she does that thing where she, like, takes off her clothes and it's just her, but in a white outfit now, and she's like, ha ha ha, I was actually Nadira. What if they, like, know that she was his daughter and that's why she's at the trial, but they don't know that his daughter is Nadira?
You mean like Perry the Platypus style, where it's like Nadira,
Nadira, the
where's the
villain.
daughter?
She's not hidden in the courtroom. They all know she's there. They
Maybe,
just don't know that she's a
maybe.
villain.
Maybe.
That does make a lot of sense, especially if there's only one criminal left and it's not her. Like,
After the trial, it cuts to the I guess the escort of Rancic to the prison, where we find a woman just fainted on the street, and as soon as two cops go to tend to her, she also demonstrates the ability to turn body parts into weapons, and for her case, it's her nails, and she just like bitch slaps them.
A note I wanted to make just after that. I think his name's Lucas, right? The blue one.
Yes.
When he puts the car into start, he not only turns the gear shift but presses buttons on the top, and I'm like, what kind of vehicle is he driving? Where it's more complicated than today, where you have to put the car from park to drive. Like, he had to do like 7 other things. I'm like, why?
1,000 years from now, and they still use cars.
Hey, listen, a fucking 2001 Corolla is vintage in the 31st century. You gotta keep those around your warehouse where you're fighting bad guys.
We start this series with like flying vehicles all over the sky, and then we cut to like this 2001 truck that's going to a prison on a road.
I don't think it looked like a pretty big truck when it got exploded later on. It looked
that truck was way
pretty
too big.
Like, he should have just been in the back of a car.
He's the last criminal.
He's the last criminal. We wanted to give him the space to roam around.
He had a lot of room.
I couldn't believe how big it was.
Yeah, they couldn't afford like other soldiers, I guess, like to be on there, or cops or Time Force members. I guess, cutbacks because this was the last villain.
They were already like rolling back who was
Yeah.
on payroll.
He just had some great timing when he's like, the future full of surprises, and then boom, it happens.
Yeah, all these people have like a sixth sense, and there's all these allusions to time. I wonder why.
I like when Lucas yells at the one character who actually has a sixth sense, and he's just like, it doesn't always work.
Right. I do really appreciate all the one-liners, except when Raznik says it twice.
Ransick.
Ran sick.
Sick.
Like ransack.
Yeah, he says it, then like the truck tips over and he gets out and he's like, as I told you.
You see, young lady, the future is full of surprise.
You could have just said it the one time.
Jen points a gun at him and then just faints and can't shoot.
I don't think the gun would have done anything if she shot anyway.
The gun doesn't shoot at anybody who isn't bulletproof. It's just how the show works.
By God, like, after all that happened, I loved the ballsy move of he gets stopped from going to the prison. And where does he go? The prison. Like, where would they least expect this man to go? Where he was getting transported to.
That's actually a good point.
I thought that was so just absolutely genius. No one was gonna think of that.
He's playing 4D chess.
This man is 10 steps ahead.
Meanwhile, the police captain fires the team for like losing Rancic.
Yeah, cutbacks, man. It's
Oh yeah, I have a little note here that the captain's a dick, and I bet he set them up. Because like right before they leave, he's like, "Listen, if anything happens, it'll be bad." And then something happens, and he's like, "You messed up the thing."
You're fired.
Did anybody see Guy Fieri?
Guy Fieri?
Anybody else see him?
No.
He was
got
one of the
time
monsters at the prison.
Oh, you mean like the guy with like flames at the leather jacket that's about to get frozen?
Yes, and the spiky hair.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah,
That's
I know
the
you're
one.
So once they have lost Rancic and they get fired, was it a microaggression when like Lucas starts yelling at Trip and he's like getting upset for him not reading his mind as like all Zybrians can?
I feel like that was macro rather than micro.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was some physical assault.
That's pretty blunt.
Wait, and also right after that, yeah, I was gonna talk about how Jen is a bootlicker because they're talking about how it wasn't fair for them to get fired, and then Jen is like, "Yes, he should have fired us. We failed." And then it cuts to Jen commandeering a vehicle using the authority of being a Time Force cop.
Oh,
Right.
I forgot about that. Oh my god.
And it's like my lady, I sympathize with you. You shouldn't have gotten fired, but you also accepted the fact that you got fired, which means that badge you have isn't really worth anything. And yet you decide to just flash at somebody, yeet the driver out of the vehicle, and commandeer the vehicle.
I like how the driver just didn't care that they were police because, what are police gonna do? Their only job is to capture this one villain.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Time Force. This is an emergency. We need to commandeer your vehicle.
Get lost.
Wait.
Worst kind of bootlicker.
Yeah, the second Jen did that, there became immediately 4 more criminals.
And
it's like,
they
yeah.
straight up just police brutality threw this man out of his car and took it.
Right. Jen lost major points on all that. I get it. She has the moxie, but that's not cool, man. You don't even know this person.
For more than that, I just I don't totally like her as a character.
I think Jen right now as a character isn't being written super consistently, because part of them want her to be a law-abiding citizen, someone of truth. But then on the other hand, they also want her to be like a rebellious leader, and it kind of just conflicts because they need the plot to move in this direction. Because like Trip gets a vision that that Rancic is in the prison, so they know the plot needs him at the prison, but they have lost the authority to commandeer a vehicle. But the plot needs him there anyway, so she's gonna do it. So it's just she's not being consistently written.
I think she believes in the code of the Time Force, but she also is okay with rebelling into doing what she needs to do.
Yeah, she has like a strong personal sense of duty because she let Rancic go, so she needs to go apprehend him.
Did they steal a flying car, or was it just a car? Because I'm pretty sure the prison was like in the middle of the ocean.
I think it was a hovering car.
It just occurred to me that how did they get there? The car should not.
The transport car was not hovering.
Oh yeah, no, the truck was on wheels.
Yeah, but I think the car they stole is a hovering car, right?
It is. It was.
The problem I had with Jen was basically Lucas kept being I really didn't like him. But then every now and then, the only times Lucas was tolerable was when Jen was being worse, and he was the voice of reason to Jen's unreasonableness. He's just it's unfair that we got fired, and Jen's no, we deserve to get fired because we failed. And it's what are you talking about? He didn't even pull you into his office. He fired you over the phone
on the spot,
the scene of a crash. Then they're walking along the road. It's they didn't even send a bus or something. They're just walking home after being in a car accident.
And fired.
You're fired!
I couldn't stop thinking about that, especially when they got to the prison. I'm man, this is a really bad day for them. And then the thing with the Red Ranger happened. I was it's a really bad day for them.
Right, Red Ranger reports to work despite his fiance being fired on the spot for failing a mission.
This is the last. Well, I mean, they had a very long-term goal of getting this last criminal, so I understand why even if he had heard that she was fired, why he would just still fulfill his duty in trying to take in Rancic, or
Is it gonna be a meme where we always just mispronounce his name?
Don't worry. I'll never mispronounce Reznor's name.
Yeah, Reznov is a real...
Doofenshmirtz won't get away with it, I'll tell you that much.
So we cut to Ragnarok in the prison, about to use the time warp device. He notices that the Red Ranger is back to apprehend him, and he stops the process because he wants to kill him. And then he goes to the roof to meet him, and he kills him.
Quote unquote.
I gotta say, the man had a goal, accomplished his goal, and then, moved on.
Yeah, that's, solid proof that, he totally whiffed that first fight on purpose. He absolutely brutalized him in under a minute.
He, one swipe killed him. He, sliced his back and just done.
It was a few strikes, then he swiped his back, and then, yeah.
If you think about it, in that first fight, in addition to them fighting one-on-one, there were also, 20 robots that were just window dressing in the background. So, yeah, I mean, those robots probably would have done something if he wanted to win that fight.
Well, if the Red Ranger can go toe-to-toe with him, I don't think the robots could have done a whole lot. Because this is, the final boss.
They could turn the tides.
Where were we? Red Ranger dies.
Red Ranger dies. We hardly knew you.
As somebody who hasn't seen a lot of Power Rangers, I thought it odd that Rancic calls Red Ranger Red Ranger. It's not very unique, and it's not like they're trying to hide names. Alex and Jen call each other by their names in front of Rancic. Really? You're just saying Red Ranger?
Yeah, I feel as though they very often refer to the Ranger by their color, the villains.
Interesting.
Makes it pretty easy to identify then.
Yeah.
It makes sense in universe why they would be you're a Ranger, you're red.
You're the Red Ranger.
You're the Red Ranger. I'm guessing there aren't... the one thing that kept coming back to me throughout this whole thing is I can never tell how many of something there are. I can't tell how many criminals there are. I can't tell how large the police force is. I can't tell how common chronomorphers are. I can't tell how common time travel devices are. It's there's one criminal and he gets his hand on a time travel device.
It's so odd to me because when they finally do go back in time, I'm well, That seems like something that's common for the Time Force.
Yeah, because they were just like able to sneak onto the ship and go.
Yeah, that seems like so. I'm like, oh, they do it. What's stopping the actual Time Force to come and apprehend the people who just stole from the Time Force?
The rogue Time Force.
The rogue Time Force.
It makes sense that they're called Time Force because the series focuses on people traveling to the past, like time traveling. But it doesn't make sense, like, from a contemporary standpoint, in the year 3000, why they would be called Time Force if most of their work doesn't really concern time travel. That just seems like something they have in their pocket that they can do.
Unless, of course, the Time Force themselves are only involved if you're trying to travel through time. So, like, the reason Rancic was fighting the Red Ranger is because he was trying to travel through time, and they were aware of that. No, because they sounded surprised when they found the time travel cube, or whatever the hell they called it.
There is a line that I really liked when Rancic was arrested. Alex was talking to somebody, and he was about the time warping device, and the exchange was, he could have traveled to any time period he wanted. And the response was, that could have been a disaster.
Yeah, that would have been a huge problem.
Thank God that didn't happen.
So Red Ranger seemingly dies just as Jen and the rest of the team kind of get to the roof of the prison. Is that the roof of the prison, or is that like just the steps of the prison?
I think it's like a helipad of the prison.
Okay.
Which is weird. That's where they show up first.
I like when they go slow-mo on Jen running up the stairs, but they like just don't have the frame rate for good slow-mo.
So did the protagonist die?
He's not the protagonist.
But he was for the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Red Ranger.
He's not the protagonist, though. He is...
He has top billing on the credits.
Yes, as Wes, not as Alex. That is Alex. Alex is not the protagonist.
When the whole thing starts, when episode 1 starts, it's only him in the beginning. It's just him and the bad guy.
So we have decided that we are going to play bingo throughout this series, and if anyone gets bingo, then you have to record the next episode inebriated. And this is the bingo sheet, and one of the categories that we have is, did the protagonist die? So we're having a debate as to whether or not Alex is the protagonist, because we want to know whether it counts for bingo. And I say it does not, because he is not the protagonist. He is the Red Ranger, who is the principal ranger, but he's not the protagonist of the series.
Okay, he's not the protagonist of the series. He's the protagonist of episode 1 up until we think he dies.
I'd say Jen is the protagonist of episode 1. It follows her more.
It does follow.
It does not follow her more. It follows him just as much. It starts out with him. The proposal starts. It's just him at first, and she walks out.
When it's following Alex, I think it's really following Rancic.
I could agree to that, because it only shows Alex in regards to other characters. Like, it shows Alex with Rancic or Alex with Jen. It's never about Alex.
I would still argue he's the protagonist of episode 1.
I feel where you're coming from.
Should we do a vote then?
Okay, hold on. First, would it change anybody's bingo?
If the consensus is he is the protagonist, then we all have to check it, because we're all playing the same game of bingo.
Or not the same game, but the same boxes.
Yeah, so it's like if B-53 came out on like the little ball spinner, and like Thomas and Emily check it, but you and I don't, because we don't believe B-53 is a number.
I say we save it, because I think it'll come up very shortly.
I say it doesn't count this instance, because I don't think Alex is the protagonist.
That's fair too.
So the Red Ranger died. He died. They had this heartfelt scene with them, and I thought this was a good scene. I was like, oh, this is kind of really sad, because they were going to spend the rest of their lives together, and then this happened. Now Jen has this real vendetta to get Rancic. And what I also love is when they're cryo-freezing people and they stop cryo-freezing this one villain. I'm pretty sure he stated that like he only stole something and he's getting cryo-freezed.
Huh.
He claims he was accused of stealing. The thing just showed up in his car or something like that.
Now listen up, fellas. Can we talk about this for a second? I mean, I really wasn't trying to steal that stuff. It just fell in my car, you know? I was framed, I tell you. I want my mom.
Yeah. So he's...
Petty crimes.
It was a petty crime, and he was getting cryo-freezed for it.
For an undisclosed amount of time, too.
Yeah. It was...
Wow.
But yeah, that happened. Rancic went back in time to 2001. I don't know how they knew he went back to 2001.
I was wondering that too.
I still want to talk about his death, though.
Yeah, if you have something else to say about it, go.
while you might think it was a very sad death, I think it was really manipulative because Alex is dying in Jen's arms. And what is Alex's dying wish? For Jen to promise him to catch Rancic.
I knew you'd think that, yeah.
I think that was both their goals, and like even after he died and now Rancic is getting away, he obviously prioritizes his duty to capture Rancic over their relationship. And I don't know if she feels the same.
Now she does.
Now she does. Well, I mean, he's dead. So I don't know if that's the way she felt beforehand too, you know?
I'm not sure. But Thomas, do you think this counts as the protagonist dying?
I think because of the question mark on the bingo sheet, it doesn't anyways, because we're not questioning whether the protagonist died. He just died.
I did. I questioned. I assumed he did.
I think did the protagonist die question mark is only for when they are faking out that somebody has died.
I agree with John.
No, I assumed he didn't die. But even if they say, we can't say even, like, I just assumed he's gonna come back. It's episode 1.
It is a show with time travel. So even if he died, like...
I would have voted on Emily's side, but I'm also okay with just skipping it for now, because like John Martin said, that,
Thomas, vote what you truly believe. I'm not, like, if you vote with Emily, I'll do a coin flip, and we'll decide whether or not it counts or not.
I am on Emily's side on this one.
Alright, I'm gonna do a coin flip.
Do we actually think there's gonna be a dance montage?
Heads is me and John, or John and me, and tails is Thomas and Emily. Heads.
Oh. Okay.
So, Alex's dying words are to get Jen to promise him to catch Rancic. Frax, that's the robot's name that we learn.
I like his finger guns.
I like his whole outfit.
Yeah. Are you talking about buff C-3PO?
Frax is like my favorite character. Why would you do this to me?
CP3O does CrossFit.
I haven't. Okay, so there are 4 villains: Rancic, Nadira, Frack, and the frog who I've named Bluert.
I think his name is Pluto. I don't remember for sure.
There's this one fight scene I can't wait to get to later on.
I know the one.
I know what you're talking about.
I think that was the first time my notes went to all caps.
There was a few times where I'd audibly laughed, and that was one of them. But we'll get to that later. He seems like he's gonna be like the reoccurring funny character where he just messes up everything.
So Frax time warps to prison, and then Jen decides that their job is to go on a hot pursuit. So she takes Alex's morpher, and then she steals 4 more morphers. I don't know where she acquires them.
Oh, Alex tells her that they're in the ship that she's stealing.
Okay, thank you. So then they get to a time ship with all 5 morphers. They get a Megazord to like smack the time ship through the time portal, and that's where episode 1 ends.
Yeah, there's gotta be a more efficient way to like time travel, but
no. Listen, 1,000 years of technology. There's 2 ways to time travel. You steal like an orb thing and attach it to a prison, or you get golfed around by a giant robot. Those are exactly the 2 theories of time travel.
Like no like rockets ever. They build an entire robot to just smack a spaceship
through the portal. Yeah. Like they don't show them breaking into that spaceship, but like nobody notices they are in that spaceship. I'm calling it a spaceship. It's a time machine. I don't know what it is.
It's called a time ship.
The time ship blows up at the start of the next episode. It doesn't matter what it's called. But nobody notices they are in there until like the moment before they are launching into the past. It's like Rancic had like way too complicated of a plan, you know? Unless like these people got fired and like IT forgot to remove their like badge privileges. So they just like walked in, they're just beep. Yeah, they're only criminal as well. Oh wait, no, actually dozens of criminals have now escaped. But they escaped to the past. They haven't told us anything about the time travel mechanics, and I don't think they will. But like,
Agreed.
If all these people escape to the past, can they affect the present? Or is this just like, oh, they can go ruin some other people's lives and we can ignore them?
Unless if anyone else has anything else to say about episode 1, I do want to jump to my corner, because I have some things written.
Get in there.
So I decided to name my corner The Rabbit Hole, since I feel as though that's kind of what this is. We're going down a rabbit hole of Power Rangers lore. So, today's topic is going to be leadership. So leadership in Power Rangers, even though usually the Red Ranger is kind of in charge, it does tend to get it's a little more complicated than just flat out the Red Ranger. While the Red Ranger is traditionally the leader, there are some instances where this isn't the case. And the first instance that I could think of is Zordon from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on.
Alpha, Rita's escape. Recruit a team of teenagers with attitudes.
He serves as like the leader and the mentor of a lot of the earlier series, most notably through the Zordon era, which is, I guess, like the first few series of Power Rangers. Even though the Red Ranger was the leader in combat, ultimately they kind of all did what Zordon did. Zordon constantly outranked the Power Rangers in terms of like making consequential choices, such as like granting the Power Rangers their powers or creating the White Ranger with Tommy.
I don't think I've seen any Power Rangers.
I remember who Zordon is, obviously.
He's played by Bryan Cranston in the Power Rangers movie.
I saw him more as...
the mentor.
Yeah, the mentor, and the Red Ranger led everybody at the field.
Yeah, in combat. I think only because Zordon was making such consequential choices, I would also kind of consider him a leader, even though he's not fighting. But that's more of like an opinion or a take. I think the first time there was like an undisputed leader would be Power Rangers in Space, when the Turbo Rangers kind of go off into space to follow the capture of Zordon, and then they kind of meet the Red Space Ranger, and he kind of leads them on their quest. In Time Force, which is the one we're talking about today, though, so I don't want to get too off topic. In Time Force, we see the Red Ranger seemingly killed in the first episode, and from then on, it's pretty undisputed that Jen is the leader of this group right now, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first instance in Power Rangers that a woman is the leader of the Power Rangers group. It's also the first time that the morphers are explicitly stolen as opposed to awarded or found. So that's a little trivia knowledge for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed that when I was watching it this time. I was like, this is definitely a weird way that they've obtained the morphers, which is, mostly it's been, bestowed upon, or there was some more fulfilling, graceful way. They just stole them.
Yeah, like I think in Lost Galaxy, like they it seemed like it was kind of destiny for them to find the swords that granted them powers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in this instance, they just there was tech that existed, and they just flat out just stole it and ran.
Yeah,
off with it.
I don't know. I think there can be only those Power Rangers. I think. I don't know if there's like a bunch of Red Rangers and there's a bunch of Blue Rangers or whatever.
I agree with you. I think that's the case.
Okay, yeah, because it'd be kind of odd that these morphers hadn't already been paired with someone else if they're the only ones.
I think they're the only ones in existence in the year 3000, but it's still kind of weird that they stole it. It's cool, but it's also weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I bet it will be brought up, but I kind of hope that like it's just ignored that they like stole all this equipment and broke all those laws. Like, they just, like, go back to the year 3000 somehow in the next episode, and everybody's like, well, good job chasing him down. He got away again, but you're doing good work. You're rehired.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do, because it won't make too much sense to me that the Time Force can't just send more people back in time. Like, was that the only Time Force's machine? That one? That it?
I mean, maybe it's new technology, and they were so excited about it, they decided to name their police team after it.
But if you're gonna make like a place called the Time Force, they should probably like be fairly equipped.
Does the police here in this universe only care about time-related crime?
I don't want to get too much into the second episode, but I think in the second episode it kind of is implied that they care about mutant crimes, which might be worse.
Yeah, they mentioned like Ranzik's a mutant. I'm like, oh, so he doesn't have like a tragic backstory. That's his face looking like that is why he's powerful.
I know. I thought he might have been some like hybrid, like self-mutated or cyberpunk kind of thing.
There are two more instances in which a woman is the leader of Power Rangers, although it's very disappointing because the next series is Power Rangers Wild Force, and the series begins with a woman leader, Taylor, the Yellow Ranger, only to have the fish out of water Red Ranger assume leadership position as soon as he joins due to his charisma and his instinctive connection to nature. So it's kind of shitty. I thought that was the only instance in which a woman is a leader, but after doing some research, apparently there was a Red Ranger who was a woman in Super Samurai.
Did not know that.
For 5 episodes only. Which is also kind of shitty.
So what you're implying to me is that in the episode we're about to watch, the new Red Ranger does not like somehow become the leader? Because that's what I'm expecting to happen. is that he just shows up and with his natural charisma and Red Ranger suit is like, well, guys, I'm it now.
I don't think so. I think he's gonna be the black sheep for a while.
Yeah.
I thought John was being sarcastic.
I was.
No.
I hope they pull a what is it, Clara from Doctor Who, where like it's not him that travels with them. They just keep going to different times, and there's a guy who looks exactly like Alex each time, and they're just like, "Quick, we need you to put on the Red Ranger suit. We never prepare for this in advance."
Okay, well that's all I have for my rabbit hole.
I mentioned this before, and Emily also agreed. But how did they know that Rancic was in 2001?
They don't explain it as far as I know.
I was wondering if I missed something.
I mean, I could come up with a fan theory. It's like, oh, Rancic traveling back in time caused a rip in time and space, and they can somehow track that and follow it. But
that's what I might have figured, like, because they didn't know they were going in 2001, and honestly, neither did Rancic.
No one knew anything. They did not. It's not like Rancic like just hit him up before going like, hey, by the way,
to 2001.
Okay, I got two things. First, the fan theory on how the time travel works. You can only travel back to, like, a certain point. You don't actually get to choose where you go. Like, if it's Tuesday the 1st, like, you're going to 2001. That's just what you get on this day. It's like the
very
weather.
Inefficient, but yeah.
And then second, at the start of this episode, the thing blows up or whatever. We'll have to get back to that. But then they're like, where are we? And it's like, oh, you're outside of this town in 2001. And they're like, oh my god, 2001, we gotta get back. And I'm like, did they not know they were going to travel through time? Like, did Jen just, like, lead them onto the ship, and then they're like, whoa, what's that robot doing? And then the robot, like, punts them, and they're like, I don't understand anything.
Like, where are we? We can travel in time?
Yeah, like, they were so shocked it was 2001. I was like, where the hell did you think you were going? I don't...
To McDonald's, and it just smacks them.
It's episode 2.
Rancic and the squad appearing in the year 2001, which they find out by hassling a cop. And it's revealed that Rancic has like telekinesis because he manages to like suck the gun up into his hand. And then once they get the information, they just fucking yeet the cop to a pile of boxes.
My only comments up to that point were, one, in the recap for this episode, they clipped Jen's no when Alex died, and it hit even funnier the second time. And also, I thought it was magnet fingers, but telekinesis is pretty neat too.
Did anybody know if the marriage proposal was even in the episode 2 recap? Because I don't think I saw it.
I bet you it wasn't.
I didn't take notes on it, so it wasn't significant enough for me.
It wasn't significant enough the first time.
Well, I noticed, like, wow, really? It's just not in there at all? This major plot point right now? Major character development point, rather?
Well, it's not major. He dies like 3 minutes later.
At least a man was fridged instead of a woman. Alright, so after they find out that the squad is in 2001 and they laugh maniacally, it cuts to the time ship, which has crashed on a beach with a fuel leak. Which leads me to wonder, like, in the last episode, Jen is like, Lucas can drive anything. And so Lucas was given the responsibility of driving the time ship, which then crashed and exploded on a beach.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
I don't yet understand how well the Time Force actually does in dealing with time. Like, you know, like when they first, like they got to the beach and crashed, it's like, they obviously got access to the ship very easily. So I don't know if it's just something they do regularly where they go back in time.
It is in the name.
It is, and it's in the name of the police force, so you got to assume that they're just not just a police force, they're a time force.
I will point out, though, this is one of those times where Circuit was proved useful. Episode 1, he was just kind of there, they kind of had to take care of him. Episode 2, a bunch of stuff goes wrong with their time travel, and Circuit's like, you know what, everybody get up, we're going to evacuate right now, it's going to blow. He really pulled through.
Circuit also knows exactly where they are and what year it is when they get out of the ship.
Beautiful.
I like to think the ship crashed and Circuit like got out, walked around, asked somebody for the year, looked at the street names, and then like came back and he was like, "Hey guys, you should evacuate. This place is gonna blow." Just like 20 minutes later.
The robot also knew what year it was, but that was only after examining the gun. Well, he didn't know what year it was. He knew the century it was in.
He recognized the gun.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're talking about Frax.
Yeah, I was referencing Frax because they're both robots. So Frax only recognized the gun, not the ear. Circuit knew what the ear was.
I guess we haven't since yet determined how they knew to go to 2001, or that's just maybe how it ended up.
I have no idea how this decision was made, nor do we know how the Time Force knew that's where they were going.
Yeah. Rancic and the Time Force both did not know they were going to 2001.
Right.
Because both of them had to ask or inquire where and when they are.
I think John Martin mentioned this last time. You go to this time portal, and every day it just changes of what day and year you go to. So they had to leave right then because this time portal or whatever only, was going to go regardless to wherever Frax was.
Like, I'm sure they'll disprove that, like, next episode or something, but that's my current running theory on how the time
I think
works.
it's a good theory, but I got no idea either.
It won't hold up from, like, a storytelling perspective for various reasons.
So, did they have chronomorphers before the new ones that they got, or is this just a new concept for them?
New concept. Like, these Power Rangers did not have chronomorphers before this, and never have.
Yeah, no, this is the first time in any Power Ranger series that the morphers are stolen. So these people never had them up until that point.
Was Alex a solo ranger before he died?
That's the impression I've been getting.
His is DNA locked, and the other 4 aren't yet.
So at this point, Jen starts handing out the chronomorphers. It seems like she kind of just randomly hands them out, like, in order. Like, she just hands one out to whoever's standing there, and then the next one, and the next one. So I'm not sure, like, were the colors just randomly assigned to them?
I think so.
So the guy with green hair just happens to get green.
Yeah. It's just life sometimes. It's ironic.
It just be like that.
Or maybe, like, the chronomorphers choose their color after they bind to the DNA. So it's like, the red one was already taken, so that one was out of the running. But then as everybody put it on, the chronomorpher was like, you feel like a green ranger.
I don't know why.
What does it mean to be green?
I read your DNA, you have green hair. Here you go. I still have in all caps here that, like, Circuit is like, yeah, guys, it's 2001. And, like, I don't remember who it was, but their reaction was like, it's 2001, we gotta get back.
I don't remember her as the Yellow Ranger. She was like, 2001? Like, this thing actually works, you know?
Yeah, like,
2001? We've got to get back. We're not going
I like to think they had no idea they were traveling through time. They were just, like, along for Jen's crazy ride as she, like, is having a mental breakdown after her fiance died.
We just gotta be there for her. Oh god, we're back in time now.
Just, she steals a car, watches her boyfriend die, steals a time machine, and they have no idea what's going on.
Do you think that... Oh my god, what was it? Do you think that when they said we gotta go back, it was a reference? Or no?
It's your kids, Marty.
We gotta go back.
Because it's time traveling, and Back to the Future came out in 1985.
Oh, another thing that I did want to add is that I remember in, like, kindergarten, I learned, it was drilled into my head, that when you're saying numbers, it is grammatically incorrect to say 2001. This doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter. But you're only supposed to say and if it's referring to fractions. So I remember the first time as a kid watching that, them saying 2001, thinking, oh, that's wrong.
But what you were taught was wrong.
I don't think it's wrong. I just think it doesn't matter.
That's also fair. It's wrong to teach that something is wrong if it doesn't matter, though.
Yeah, because, like, people understand what you mean when you say 2001, 2001.
Yeah.
If the point is to be understood, then it doesn't matter. So after this explosion, the gang goes into the city wearing all white, which is how you know they're from the future. And then they say, all right, enter scan mode. And it cuts to, like, this claymation-like scene where, like, they touch their temple and these glasses kind of just manifest over their eyes.
I just like that the glasses were somehow both stop motion and CG at the same time.
They were claymation-like.
Yeah.
But we meet Wes and get to know him more before the fight scene also.
This is when we meet Wes, because there's a mysterious biker man that we kind of follow that Jen bumps into.
And it's immediately obvious he's going to be a main character.
Jen shoves her cooch all up on him because, like, her crotch is what hits his helmet when he's, like, putting it on.
Jen shoves her cooch all up on him.
She's really just not watching where she's going at all. Like, she's looking the other way the whole time. I've watched it, I rewatched it. She was in the wrong here. And he says, oh, I'm sorry.
He's a gentleman.
Sure. Minus points for Grace.
I also like looking for somebody and somehow still not looking where you're going.
Well, yeah, it's not. She's never gonna find him in front of him, so she's
Yeah,
gonna look around.
there is no chance he's directly in front of me to my left. I'm looking in the far distance.
You're saying all Rancic had to do was wear a bike helmet and he would have been completely anonymous?
And be in front of her.
He just had to be a gentleman.
Can you imagine it was him?
That's why the camera
Sorry
focused on
about
him.
that. I thought it was cute that she recognized his voice though.
Yeah.
Like that, there is subtle things in this episode that I actually enjoyed. Like I thought was actually good content, and that was one of them.
So after this odd encounter, it cuts to Nadira in like a normal disguise. Which, how is it that they're able to disguise in 2001 style, but like this team is going around in like all white? But it cuts to Nadira in like a jewelry store, and she's like, "I'll take it all." And the guy's like, wonderful, like a vampire. And then he's like, "Cash or credit?" And her response is, "How about these nuts?" And she throws these like nuts and bolts that become the
I'll
cyclobots.
take them all.
Wonderful. Will you be paying with cash or credit?
How about nuts?
She says, "How about nuts and bolts?" But I do like the paraphrasing.
Nuts and bolts.
You gotta take some creative liberty with these things.
How about these nuts?
I think that guy then proceeds to have another one of the beautifully acted screams.
Yes. Because he like puts his hands on the desk and goes, "Ah!" and then gets up.
So once the jewelry store starts getting like ransacked. Oh, is that why it's called ransack? Because it's getting ransacked.
You know, I brought up the similarity before, but yeah, it's probably on purpose.
I think this is the first time mutant DNA is mentioned because Circuit alerts the team that there's mutant DNA detected in the city or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is like incredible that they had trouble catching this guy when they have like long range sensors.
Well, I don't know. Is Rancic a mutant?
Yes.
So how would they now pick him? I don't know, whatever.
Maybe all mutants aren't criminals. So maybe it's just like because he's a mutant in 2001.
Oh, what about his daughter?
Yeah, she is as well.
So they probably could have picked that up a while ago then.
They're all mutants except for Frax. And it's also interesting that, like, what's Rancic's objective here? Like, he's going for world domination, right?
Yeah.
His quest for world domination begins with, like, petty crimes.
You gotta start small. Start with the tri-state area.
I think he's just trying to get the feel of the area, and his daughter's just having fun.
She's having so much fun.
I don't think the daughter has the same goal. She just wants to commit crimes and have fun.
I really appreciate how much fun she actually has.
Nadir just wants to be gay and do crimes.
Respect.
Do you think she's gay-coded?
I don't think Nadira is queer-coded.
Because I don't think she is.
No, I don't think she is. I was just saying that because that's a nice quote.
I see.
So this is when the Power Rangers, or at least 4/5 of them, appear, and they seem to go to do like the morphing sequence, but then are unable to. And then the Cyclobots attack them.
They know what they need to do the morph, because they always make the same, I guess, form, so to speak, when they start up and they go.
If you think that's wild, just wait till a bit later in the episode.
Oh, I know. I know. I'll mention that too.
I like to think that this technology is so advanced that it kind of tells them in their head what they're supposed to do, and that's how they have knowledge of the things.
Okay, headcanoned.
Because this is an issue throughout like a whole bunch of Power Rangers series, that they always know what to do or what weapons they have. But
I always thought, like, when they had the weapons and they're getting new ones, they just make the names up once they get it. Like, you know, the Red Ranger gets a sword, he's like, flaming red sword, and it's just that he just made the name right there. It's
his weapon.
It's his weapon, he just decided to name it right then and there.
On the spot. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but you know, they're all about pressure. They're saving the world.
Under pressure.
Dun, 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 dun.
So during this fight, it ends up being that most of the Rangers are fighting the Cyclobots, but then it kind of becomes Girlbots versus Girlbots as Jen is fighting Nadir 1-on-1. And I guess that at some point, Nadir gets the upper hand and orders the Cyclobots to like execute Jen, and they do this whole thing where they're like moving their arms around to get their gun in place to shoot, which nice choreography because they do look like robots, but also it took up some time.
So here's why I disagree with the choreographies, because those bots have this robotic thing to aim, but when they fight, they're very fluid. Like they'll fight with their arms, they'll kick and whatnot, and they're very fluid with their emotions. But when it comes to shooting, for some reason, they're robotic.
Also, when they're like kind of marching, they'll march like robots.
Yes.
They're
But once
marching, they're like doing a dance.
But once they start fighting, it's not robotic whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with that. It is a good observation though. Okay, so just as the Cyclobots are about to execute Jen, this is when the mysterious biker reemerges and saves damsel in distress. And I kind of wish he had long hair so that when he takes off his helmet, he like waves it around. But no, it's just Alex, but with blonde hair instead of black.
Was Alex's hair color different? I honestly didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, Wes looks like he has like highlights in his hair.
Huh.
That's the difference, I think, between him and Alex. And I think the actor does a really good job at easily portraying which one's Wes and which one's Alex. They act very differently, and I think he's actually a good or a decent actor in that sense.
Jen is not taking it well that Wes exists.
Oh no, Jen is immediately thirsting for this guy.
I don't know.
And also angry that he exists.
She's so angry about it. She's like, oh, he's worthless.
When he takes off his helmet, I did appreciate the reaction she did have, because that I thought was a very genuine and good acting performance. But the rest of the series, and so far, I don't think it has been for her.
There's an exchange that happens right here where like the rest of the Rangers walk up to Jen and Wes, and someone goes, he looks just like Alex." And then Wes asks, "Who's Alex?" And Jen yells, "Nobody." Which is why I think Jen is thirsting for this man immediately. Because it's like if you were like at a store with your girlfriend, you see another hot girl, and like your girlfriend refers to you as like your boyfriend, and you're like, "Whoa, what do you mean?
What do you mean? That's ridiculous."
That's not how I took it. I took it as like, oh, I'm not going to talk about my dead fiance to this person who, is in the past. Like, I assume she's one of those people who are like, we need to not communicate or talk to anybody from this time zone. That sounds like it'd be up her alley.
So after Wes kind of helps save Jen, he has like the greatest exit line, which I think is going to be on my tombstone when I die. "It's been a blast, but I got a jam."
Okay. It's been a blast, but I got a jam. See ya.
It's very early 2001 lingo.
There's a lot of that. I noticed when Nadir said something like, "Oh, that was impressive." Not.
He like saw that she was fighting some guys, rode up on a motorcycle, kicked them. Like her friends ran up and were like, "Wow, you look just like Alex." And then he's like, "Who's Alex?" They say nobody, and he just leaves. He has no questions about who he kicked, why there was fighting happening. He's just like, "Sorry, I gotta go home for my regular life. I have no other questions about what's transpired here other than who is Alex," which you didn't answer, and I'm now curiosity gone.
Does not want to interact or connect again.
I can't think of anything else to ask.
Yeah, it's like, what were those things I just kicked? Were they people? Should we call the police? No, none of that.
Who's Alex?
Yeah, who's Alex? Nobody. Oh, okay, I understand. He must be your boyfriend. I'm gonna go home. I have no interest here anymore.
Just leaves.
He's got a jam.
He's got a jam.
I think it's really funny that Time Force in 2001 would not be protected under a police union.
Oh yeah, that's good. At least there's some progress in the year 2000.
Yeah, if anything, they'd like show up to all our criminal systems as illegal aliens
Right.
with no identification.
Right.
They only think they're authority figures.
So after this scene, it cuts to the group. They regroup somewhere else, and they're kind of assessing what happened. And it's revealed that the red morpher unlocks the rest of the morphers, which is locked with Alex's DNA. And then it cuts to Master Wes being in a mansion, always being hungry, and he's like being served by a bunch of butlers. And that's when Jen just shows up at the mansion.
Yeah, she really was just there, huh? just
like they were about to leave, and then she was there at the corner. Wes uses her as an excuse to like ditch a meeting, which, all right, yeah, I would probably do that too. But Wes actually shows like absolutely no interest in Jen. Like he gets out of the mansion and he's like, "Thanks, I'm gonna leave now."
Actually, he says, "No need to thank me." To be clear.
The only reason she's here is clearly to thank me for when I kicked those guys' asses and then left.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're welcome, Moana.
And what can I say except...
Yeah, that was this show, right? The song.
Wes, after using her as an excuse to get out of a board meeting.
You use like a 2017 reference?
Listen, yeah, they're time travelers. That's why.
So at this point, Jen is like kind of desperate to get Wes to at least temporarily join the team because they need him to unlock the morphers. And so she starts expositioning to him. And she refers to Rancic and his group as a gang of mutants. But are they an actual gang?
In the future, there's only one criminal, so they shouldn't be familiar with the use of gang to refer to a group of criminals anyways.
Well, I think they're terrorists. That's a better term to be used for them rather than gang.
But do they have a political agenda?
I mean, yeah, anarchy. They want to rule the world.
I mean, that's the opposite of anarchy.
I think they'd be a gang if they had a title for themselves. Well, I don't know, because under that theory, are cults gangs?
Are the cults doing criminal activities?
Sometimes.
I feel like that's what separates a cult from a religion, isn't it?
The legality of it?
The legality of it. I guess it's more about just like societal acceptance and rather than explicitly legality.
So when Jen confronts Wes refuses to don the morpher, and Jen like lashes out at Wes and goes, "You're nothing like him," which I thought was kind of I think it was a good scene. It shows Jen in a nice, like, in a flawed way, but in a constructively flawed way.
Yeah, I think the reason why I don't like Jen is because she very much tries to come out like she isn't flawed, but she is very flawed. She just lost her fiance. And she sees or Wes, and, you know, it must be terrible for her because literally yesterday her fiance died, and now she's seeing his, great-great-great-grandson? Grandfather, and he looked exactly like him, and she must be, like, experiencing so many emotions, and, like, when she was finally like, okay, let's just move on and get rid of it, she has to go back and confront him and ask him to put the same morpher her fiance put on.
That's a lot of trauma, actually, yeah.
It is, and I'm sure in like the back of her mind, she's hoping that, like, you know, this is just going to be Alex, basically. And, you know, maybe that things will go back to normal in the back of her mind. She's hoping. And when she sees that Wes is nothing like Alex, she's just kind of like super...
hurt?
Yeah, super hurt. I'm sure it's hard. She's feeling a lot of emotions at this point.
I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In that respect, it actually almost makes it a bit weird when I forget who it was, but, like, when she first meets Wes, they run up and they're like, wow, he looks just like him. And it's just like, that's like a weird way to react to, like, a guy who looks like, you know, a colleague or friend who just died. It's like, wow, that's pretty neat. I think Jen had the only reaction I would expect. The other one was almost a bit too comedic.
I don't know. I thought I saw it as like he was so overwhelmed with joy because he got to see his friend's face again.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so either way, Jen is kind of projecting a lot of her feelings of Alex to Wes, or like maybe like expectations of what Alex would have done to Wes. But it's been shown already that like Wes is even though like they might look alike, is a very different character at this moment from Alex.
Wes and Nadira might get along.
I could kind of see that.
This is gonna be my OTP now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that, like, you're nothing like him. It's like, how would he have responded if, you know, somebody is just like, hey, I know time travel doesn't exist, but I'm from the future and you can help me.
Right.
It's like, I believe you're nuts. I feel like that's a reasonable response even from your dead fiance. Like, I don't think this, like, tells you anything about his personality.
Like, that was a very polite rejection. Like, he could have said a lot worse things to her.
Just, you're nothing like
And then he still like chased her down and helped her out. Like, Wes comes off as like a dick, but honestly, like, given the situation, he did some pretty nice things.
He's just looking out for number one and is like a very non-curious person. Just, I cannot relate to him for that one reason. Just, I'm from the future, it's like, and I have no further questions.
I wonder if he asks some more questions in episode 3.
I like to think no.
And he just goes along with everything.
Oh yeah, and then he sees the little CRT-looking hologram, as her friends call her, and he's just like, as though, like, that's, like, 1,000 years in the future tech.
But, how did Jen, because this attack is now happening downtown, right? Is Jen, like, commandeering more vehicles? How is she getting from point A to point B to point A again?
Wes gave her a ride. That's why he was also downtown later.
I was gonna say convenient riding or convenient walking distance.
Also, it's a walkable city.
Wes's big mansion is just outside of downtown.
So now at this point, they're no longer doing petty crimes. They're kind of just, like, terrorizing, like, the downtown area as a whole. I think if I was Rancic, I would go for like a town hall or something.
Yeah, like a seat of government.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I guess Rancic is just cocky and he's gonna steamroll everything. He's not like heading towards like, oh man, I'm gonna head towards like the state capitol or et cetera, et cetera. He's like, I'm just gonna destroy everything in my path as I walk.
Yeah, but it's 2001. You could go for the political means, like the state capitol, or you can attack a major economic center.
I mean, it's hard to say whether like even in the future, like those things were set up that way, and maybe he doesn't even know where to go to attack. He's just gonna attack everything, and maybe he's like, that's my best bet.
I'll bring the fight to me.
I like that. He's again the only criminal, so like he doesn't have any like references on what to do to accomplish his goals.
You're really going to town with this one.
You can't open your show on all the criminals are off the streets except for one, and then like
expect us to not reference it.
Like they could have mentioned time travel exists in the opening crawl, but instead they chose to mention that there's only one criminal. They thought that was more important.
Last criminal. We've got them all.
We've got them all, except for his daughter and the two that are currently being imprisoned, I guess. They're technically off the street because they are on their way to the jail.
Yeah, that's last episode, so let's just continue.
Fair. I won't let it go, I promise.
The team just shows up in front of Rancic, even though they don't have the abilities to morph, and then Rancic does that thing again where he like kneels and like takes out a sword using his knee bone, which by the way, those platform boots are really something.
Love them.
I'm a little worried like if he trips he's gonna really hurt his ankles, but I haven't seen him trip yet.
As someone who once wore 7-inch platform shoes for a Halloween costume, it's not that bad actually. You can redirect it into a fall.
Yeah, they're a lot different than heels. You're just walking on ground that's higher up.
Are you able to like bend your foot that much in them?
I mean, any more than any other boot.
You can easily roll your ankle, and I did it multiple times, but each time, instead of rolling my ankle, I just fell over. Like, there wasn't a way to, like, roll the ankle and not fall over, so it was mostly safe.
John, you have to do your Frankenstein costume again.
That's the costume. It was great. Just being 7 feet tall is a true privilege.
I didn't see him in your Frank. What year was that? What year did you do that in?
Oh, he was a child.
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, wow.
2012?
I just remember seeing Facebook photos of it.
Okay. I thought this was, like, recent. I was like, really?
No, I mean, I've been 6'2" to 6'4" the whole time, so... Since birth.
Oh, wow.
Your poor mother.
Next. Alright, what's up?
So then Jen gets yeeted. These villains really love just yeeting their opponents. Like, they yeeted the cop, they yeet Jen.
That's kind of like a Power Rangers, like, trope thing, is, like, you beat the guy up and then you just yeet them.
Yeah, yeet them through like some collapsible material, like a table or a pile of boxes.
Empty boxes, piled in box shape instead of flattened.
Once Jen is yeeted, she gets caught mid-air by Wes, who is then given the morpher. And then there's that cool morphing scene.
I do appreciate that right before that, Rancic thinks that Jen has courage. He even points out, like, oh, you must have great courage to follow me here. And it's kind of like a real recognized real thing for a second, and I did appreciate that little interaction.
I didn't see it as, like, him actually admiring her courage. He was saying that she was being reckless and stupid.
That's fair, and I don't think it was an admiration. I think it was just, it was a taunt, but it was enough. I think it was said in a good enough way to not minimize her.
I'm gonna side a little bit more with Emily on this one, because I feel as though if he was trying to mock her, he would have been, wow, you have so much courage following me to the year 2001. But instead, he's like, I'm surprised that you have the courage to follow me here. It's not super sarcastic, but I don't think he's complimenting her either. I would lean a little more towards what Emily is saying than what you're saying, in my opinion.
I also appreciate that he's not complimenting her. Not that he would, but...
Also, we didn't mention it, but when he pulls out that bone sword, he proceeds to use it to, like, shoot a bunch of lightning, Palpatine style, and he just, like, destroys the whole team in one swing of his sword from a distance. And it's like, yeah, no, they don't stand a chance. It's not even going to be a close fight.
Takes out a sword, casts lightning.
Yeah, it's like, all they can do is, like, wired martial arts.
During the scene, I always forget how to say his name still, and I need to think Rancic he refers to Alex as Jen's fiance. How does he know that they're fiance? Do the other Rangers even know, or anyone, let alone the villain, with which they would share zero personal information?
Maybe him and Alex had a little like nemesis chat before their final showdown. You know, they spent a couple minutes just talking.
They probably have, even just then, like it looked like they were like rivals. You know, they have met each other before.
Yeah, but like Alex proposed at the courtroom.
Regardless, it sounds like him and Alex had like a lot more history than the show mentions.
It's just weird that he knew that they were fiancés specifically, not like dating or not married, but fiancé.
Maybe Jen mentioned it to him while they were in the back of the truck for the transport. She was just like, "You upset that my fiancé beat you?" And she like holds up her hand to show the ring. Just humble bragging or some such.
Yeah, he could have also just seen the ring at any point and been like, "Oh, they're married. They're getting married now."
Rancic as highly observant. I like it.
Yeah.
So once the Time Force Rangers morph, something very interesting to note is that the Power Ranger that's in the center is Jen.
I thought it'd been weird if it was Wes the one that was going to be in the middle for that one.
I agree. It makes sense that Jen is in the middle because she is the leader. I like that they didn't feel the need to adjust that.
Yeah, I am curious to see Wes's growth and how he measures up.
So at this point, the Cyclobot starts like firing bullets. Like, were they firing bullets or lasers earlier?
Lasers.
Because now they're firing bullets, and the team, this is where they like dodge the bullets Matrix style.
Oh yeah.
Except for Wes.
Yeah, because Wes doesn't know how to use his power yet, I guess.
Which is a great detail that I absolutely loved. Just him just getting pummeled by the bullets while everybody else is Matrix dodging them. I also, did the Matrix come out in 2001?
No, it was 99.
Oh, was it 99? You're absolutely right. Okay. So they just stole it. Just stolen. Not... Yeah, but you know what would pull me out of the moment more than Wes being in the middle? If Wes somehow knew the words to say and the dance to do in choreography with them.
You mean like when the musical breaks out?
It was just so weird that like they were like, okay, let's do this, and suddenly they're in formation. And I'm like, no, this is not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to what I was saying about like, oh, you know, the morphers give them some sort of mental link, and I was like, yeah, all right, you know, that's probably the best possible. That's the best possible explanation.
But what am I going to complain about if not that? Damn these reasonable explanations.
So there is a big fight with the Cyclobots, and despite Wes not knowing how to dodge bullets, he is aware of how to draw his weapons. And then Rancic leaves the fight mid-battle. And I meant to point this out before, and I didn't, but each of the villains have like their own teleporting away sequence, and Rancic's has like his face laughing as he does, and they use this like the same animation a second time. I'm not saying they should be changing the animation, but I do enjoy that he kind of like has an evil laugh mid-departure. And then Jen starts fighting the big blue fish looking guy.
Who wants to talk about that first?
Thomas, please. It has to be you.
Thomas, you've been wanting this the whole time.
That man T-posed, then farted, then belly flopped, and hit the that was his move.
Gotcha.
It was a powerful move.
It was, and it's just like, I hope to see it again.
And it wasn't played for laughs, necessarily. Like, they put in a fart sound effect. But, like, no. His move is seriously, like, becoming a static T-pose and fart-propelled flying at you.
What's funny about it is, like, I don't think he's a fighter because he was getting arrested for stealing. So there just could have been something he does.
This is just how he moves.
You know? Yeah, like...
This is... Just gotta get to my 9 to 5.
Oh, that was just like, that was one of the other ones that caught me off guard. That was so funny. I can't wait to see some of these other ridiculous monsters. It's so funny.
With Rancic gone, it just leaves like the three other villains, Frax, Nadira, and I haven't gotten the other guy's name. Has his name been said in the episode?
I don't think it has. I ended up looking it up on the wiki and then forgetting it.
Okay.
Wait, I also want to go through the names.
Oh, is that... I thought it was like Pluto before, but...
It's like Grubbo or something.
It's Gluto.
Huh?
It's Gluto, not Pluto, with a G.
Gluto.
So as we've established, there's Rancic, Nadira, Frax, who I'm going to refer to as Buff C3PO. And I don't care what his name is, I'm calling him Bluert.
Blort.
Gluto.
Listen, so Radish and Blort are clearly the two best villains.
Who is?
Radish and Blort?
Who?
What?
What?
What does that say, Anaya?
What?
No!
What?
What? So, at this point, all three of them line up, and then Jen does a thing called the time strike with her swords, and she just blows up the three remaining baddies. They don't die. They kind of just fall to the ground because they're top tier villains, so they don't die easily.
Yeah.
But they kind of teleport away after that, and then Nadira goes, "My daddy will beat you," and then Thrax teleports them away.
Also, after her time strike, all 5 of them turn away from the explosion to pose while it explodes, and then turn back around.
Well, yeah, cool guys don't look at explosions.
But I've never seen it so blatant. Normally, like, the good guy, like, has somewhere to be that is in the direction away from the explosion. Like, they happen to be walking that direction. They just turn around on the spot and pose.
John, this is going to be every episode from here on out.
I know. So I really should save some of these for...
No. You can go ahead and roast it now. It's novel to you.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any... Like, maybe as a kid I saw some Power Rangers, but I don't think I've seen any Power Rangers, like, effectively.
So after the rest of the baddies teleport, it's very obvious that Wes is having like a lot of fun being a Power Ranger, and he's kind of like bonding already immediately with like Trip and Katie, and then it pans to like Lucas and Jen, who are just stern faced, and then Jen goes like, "This isn't a game, Wes," and then Wes is like, "I can't wait for next time." There should be like next time. There won't be no next time, and like takes some Morpher away from him.
Which is like, you still don't have a solution for how you're going to become Power. Like, I guess she assumes that now that he's done it once, they can just do this whatever they want. Just, like, validate that, hey, these people who lock their DNA to this device, they're cool. I'm the Red Ranger, and I approve this message.
I'm curious to see how he comes back into the group. I assume it's going to be, like, a thing where, like, man, 4 of us aren't enough to defeat these guys. And that's going to be the context.
In the opening crawl for the show, they show, like, a bunch of different time periods, but I have, like, a nagging fear that the whole show is going to take place in 2001.
I do not remember, so I cannot confirm or deny that.
I've seen a couple of the episodes, but I just assume, based on when it was produced and released, yeah, most of it's gonna end up in 2001. But again, I don't know for sure.
Oh yeah. If they're doing a modern day, like, but like, I could just see like the time travel is just gonna be like, the future will send them something. They will not time travel. Their ship blew up. How could they?
I can imagine production costs to be anything different would also make it just skyrocket.
That's fair. They hardly had a set for the future.
Right.
Despite Lucas and Jen being very serious while the rest of them are kind of ecstatic, Lucas kind of does defend Wes in the end, because like after Jen takes away the morphine, he walks away. Lucas does go, well, he is a good fighter, and then Jen's like, we don't need him, and it seems like they're kind of on the same page at the end. Lucas is kind of neutral on it. Like he would understand if Wes stayed, but also doesn't object to Jen taking it away from him.
They're like, our main focus is defeat Rancic, and Wes is a good fighter, why not? And Jen is more like, this was the morpher my fiance used to wear. It's not worth him.
Which is fair.
It's a valid feeling to have for her.
Totally. No, I totally agree with her feeling. I just don't think she's seeing it as logically as the rest of the team.
I did like that Lucas like didn't give Wes the time of day when Wes is like going around for high fives, but then like the second Jen takes away the morpher, Lucas just had that moment of like, he could be useful though. It's like, I'm not gonna be friends with the guy, but like,
yeah, no, I think that works well with his character though. Is like, he's very straightforward. He does take his job seriously.
Yeah. Whereas Jen is just purely on an emotion driven existential crisis. Yeah.
Given the circumstances, I understand.
I'm interested to see how her character, like, it's gonna change drastically over the next, like, 2 episodes, I bet. So I'm very interested to see how she evolves as it goes on.
Lucas does play, like, a good lieutenant at this point in the show, though.
Yeah, I agree. I like Lucas.
I also do like John's comment from the first episode where He was saying that he didn't like Lucas, but then Jen would just be obnoxiously worse.
Yeah. Yeah, like Wes is going around for high fives and Lucas is like, no. And then Jen runs up and is like, you can't have this Morpher, you're not worth it. And Lucas is like, well, come on now. Let's be like, he wouldn't even like say hello to this guy while he was like excited about winning the fight. But then Jen shows up and is worse. And suddenly Lucas is the reasonable one by comparison.
Yeah.
Was that the end of the episode?
That is the end of the episode. Roll credits.
I was only gonna say that I'm excited for next episode and see how this all play out.
And now Emily's corner.
I am going to be scoring a number of characters in the first 2 episodes on a basis of 4 things. It's going to be 1, wardrobe, 2, makeup, 3, grace, and 4, moxie, loosely based off RuPaul's Drag Race TV show. So first we have Jen, obvious choice for a main character in her predicament as the story is written. First of all, makeup, we've already mentioned it, it's beautiful. It's lovely that it's understated and subtle. Her under eyeliner looks great, her lipstick is there, and it's in a color that's bold enough that I notice it, but subtle enough that it just works with whatever she's doing. Wardrobe, unfortunately, is unoriginal. I wouldn't give a lot of points.
Damn.
In that regard. The only identifying factor is the color of her ranger suit. Even her hair tie is the same one used by Katie.
I do like Jen's haircut a lot.
Jen's hair is pretty nice, I will say. It's, I don't know, kind of standard, kind of bland a little bit, but, so is Alex.
Ooh.
Damn.
Too soon.
Jen does score a lot of points when it comes to moxie. She ends up actually having a lot more spunk than I originally assumed.
What is moxie?
So the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of moxie here is energy or pep. Woke up full of moxie. But it also defines it as courage or determination. And then the third and final entry is know-how.
Which one would you say you're using the most for your ranking?
The second and third. Courage and style and know-how. And she ends up having a little bit more of this than I originally assumed based on the first episode.
What made you think she wouldn't have a lot, and then what changed your mind?
I would think that she wouldn't have a lot because when episode 1 first starts out, the whole thing's based on Alex. She's there, and as soon as it starts, we don't even know that they're together yet, but then they hang out and they start talking after the big first event, after Alex and Rancic have their confrontation. There's an explosion, and the heart of the time equipment gets returned. And I think, oh, okay, I see. She's a love interest. By the end of it, they're gonna start dating or something. No, I mean they're getting married now. They're fiancé now, but it's still written in a way that you kind of assume she's just there to support his character. However,
he gets fridged.
Right, her fiancé dies, and she just picks up and moves on to the next step. Maybe this is unhealthy, and that may take points away for Grace. But in terms of the energy, I guess I would define it as energy that she carries after that, is high. She has very high energy in that regard, in a way that she is mostly being proactive and productive about. So the most controversial part of Jen is her grace between all of these different factors. This is where I've had the most trouble and the most inner debate. My first point about this is that she grabbed some random civilian's car and commandeered it. No explanation, doesn't identify herself, or correct me if I'm wrong.
She does.
Although she's lying while she does it, because she's not part of the Time Force.
Yeah. Right, so she's lying about identifying herself now that she's fired. Totally complicit in a plethora of cop propaganda, excuse me. So, minus points for that. More cop propaganda, throwing the guy out of his car and glamorizing it.
Technically, Jen didn't throw the guy out of the car.
Sure, but she is actively glamorizing it by what she's saying and doing during the scene.
Yes, I agree.
And she's totally complicit in it.
Absolutely. If anything, she encouraged it.
Exactly. Episode 2 also, she bumps onto Wesley on his scooter, very clearly not looking for a long time. Which, no big deal, though for some reason he apologizes, but still points for Grace. Also, I guess something that would earn her some more points back is that she does not even once make a stink about her lame-ass engagement ring. She does not criticize it. She doesn't ask any questions about it. She just takes it as something that's good, no questions asked.
Is that not the expected? Is that positive grace, or is that just neutral?
I was gonna say, I guess that depends on her love language. If she doesn't think gifts are a big thing, some ring that sucks may not be a big thing to her, but the emotion that goes along with getting married and him loving her enough is something she values more.
Or what if we're in like a post-irony environment in which ugly rings are in?
That is also true. You know what? You're also not wrong. It may seem ugly to you because we're in 2021.
Yep, that's right. I just don't understand their fashion.
I mean, I don't understand 70s fashion. I don't think anybody here does.
And that was only 50 years ago.
Something that gains her points for Moxie, but less for Grace, is that, again, as we mentioned, somebody points out Alex, and Wesley says, "Oh, who's Alex?" And Jen says, "Nobody," immediately. You know she'd be pissed if he said that about her.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that statement. That's kind of why I took that statement as she's thirsting for Wes, because she's already like trying to like say, "Oh, this guy's name, he's nobody. I'm single, man."
I didn't take it that way at all.
I didn't see it at all. Yeah, I didn't see it that way at all.
It's just such a wild take to me.
Yeah, I was like, because she wasn't like, "Oh, nobody." It was like she was like yelling it, angrily, nobody. Like, nobody stopped talking about it. Not like nobody stopped talking about it, but like nobody stopped fucking talking about my dead fiance. I think that's a more polite way of telling him that it's none of his business.
Yeah, she just experienced a lot of trauma.
She's angry at her friends for bringing up her dead fiance. Wes is just caught in the crossfire for looking like him.
So, on to Alex. I started thinking a lot about Alex and how he fits into these 4 categories. I'm not even going to give him the time of day. I'm sorry. He's bland. He has no identifying marks in his wardrobe. I guess it's expected that his makeup would be bland. He looks good in his tights, but also when he's wearing his suit, he doesn't have any facial expression. His mouth doesn't even seem to move when he speaks.
He has lips on his suit.
I hate the lips on the suit. I meant to bring that up when they first showed, like, at the beginning. If I didn't mention that at the beginning of episode 1, I gotta re-mention it now. I hate those lips.
Times 4 suits aren't the best in my opinion.
Oh, really?
I think the show, I really like the show and I really like the soundtrack, but as far as the costumes go, I think there are definitely better ones. The lips, and it's the lips, and I completely agree. Even as a kid, I did not like the lips.
Okay, I will say, like, I can agree with the lips, but I do think everything else about the suit is pretty good.
I would agree. It's just the lips for me are, like, a huge factor.
Like, not the best design, but definitely a good one. Like, I like the visors, and I like how it varies, but they're consistent. What is your favorite suit, then?
That's a difficult one, and I would have to get back to you on an answer for that.
I think I'd say In Space.
I remember liking Ninja Storms the most, but I don't remember what they actually looked like. That's why I said I have to, actually look at it again.
So, enough about the Rangers. Let's talk about the real baddie and her platform daddy. So, okay, let's start with, oh my god, always with his name. Sick. I have it written
like rancid, but with a K sound at the end.
The issue is since I watched episode 1 and 2, I've been writing it RASNIK. So every time I read it, it's wrong. Rancic has great combination of function and style. The eye cover lets you know that he puts a lot of effort into his own upkeep, and he takes care of himself and protects himself. He's relatively groomed. His mustache-beard thing combo is, groomed in a way that you see shape, but it's also a little bit messy, which I get. Like, he's busy. His hair is long, which is beautiful, but it's kind of frizzy, and his beard thing is a little grown out. But overall, I think he's making it work. I will say, talk about character coding. You can tell he's a bad guy, but he's dark and hairy.
He has a little bit of the punk. I don't want to say punk and goth and be wrong.
Yes.
Because he has the spikes too.
Exactly, and he has guns out, and by guns I mean one gun. Really, he just has one side of his shirt be sleeveless. And it's not even like he's trying to cover his burn marks, because I don't know what his other arm looks like, but the arm that's out is covered in burn marks.
That's how you really know he's a villain. He has, visible scarring. It's
right.
That's the number one giveaway.
Right. The whole reason I'm making a big stink about him mostly is his big black boots. I love those platform boots. Also, I know we keep saying it, but the bone sword from his knee is sick in all of the ways that sick means.
Oh, what about his spine sword?
Yeah, that's pretty cool too.
I just want to see him put the sword back.
And back in there is the hardest part.
If he's screaming like that as he takes it out, just imagine.
So lastly, we have Nadira. Nadira's makeup is a little bit more bold, and it completely fits her character. I know her hair is also pretty bold, so her makeup, I think, matches that pretty well consistently. She's able to fight and keep all of her wits about her, and she's able to fight and not a hair on her head moves. And I think that's just part of her character. I get it, it's Hollywood, but also I think just part of who she is. I'm thinking, even if she had a couple of hairs out of place during or after a fight sequence, I think that would actually be pretty in character for her also. Something that I love about her is that she is pretty carefree and she's just having fun with whatever she's doing. That's maybe my favorite part about her. I can't get over when she's in the 2001 jewelry shop and she just says, "I'll take them all." Though right after that, I will say, she transforms from a sleeveless, tight black outfit to her bulky-ass white shoulder-padded getup. How do you go from one to the other? How does one fit under the other?
I think what really speaks to Nadira's character is that, supposedly before that scene started, she sat down with this jeweler and, had him pull out a bunch of things, and she talked with him about them, and then she's like, "Ah, yes, I'll take them all." And only then does she reveal that she's actually robbing this store.
I think that's a good way to go about it, though. Do you remember the scene when one of the other baddies says to Nadira, "You're gorgeous," and she says, "I know, feel free to remind me as often as you'd like." It wasn't malicious. Again, she was just having fun with it. She didn't respond in a negative or offensive way, but she also wasn't shy about it. I think that was great.
She's confident. She radiates confidence.
It will absolutely be to her fault one day. I completely accept this as a flaw, and we'll get there as the episodes progress, I'm sure.
On the flip side, when she first met Glutto, her initial reaction was, and I quote, "Ew." So she's not exactly nice to him.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point.
So, wait, so are you just critiquing them, or are you going to, rank them against one another?
I know, I was thinking about it, because I was talking about points, but I didn't really make up, a point system, and I think that would be a lot of work.
The rules are made up, and the points don't matter.
Okay, I'm gonna make us some arbitrary points.
Rancic gets 4 shin-bone swords out of 5. Give him different units.
This is exactly what I'm about to do. Okay, so between Jen, Alex, Rancic, and Nadira, we'll go from last to first. Alex, 1 out of 5 stars. Not sorry about it. No sympathy for his current situation. It is what it is. Jen, 3 out of 5 stars. I like a lot about Jen, but I think she's pretty flawed. I might even say 2.5. You know what? I change it. 2.5 out of 5. That's exactly 50%. I'm sure she has room for improvement. We'll see as it goes on. Nadira, 4 out of 5 stars. I do believe, again as we go on, that her flaws will become frankly apparent. And there's so much that I love about her. But she's not quite perfect. I would also deduct points from her for a bit, based on the way that she phrases things. It can come off as a little immature sometimes. Lastly, of course, we have Rancic. He gets the most points. I'm giving him 5 out of 5 points for the intersection of his function and style. I think he does both great. I think he gets done exactly what he needs to, and then he moves on to the next thing. And again, the black boots, I'm sorry, they're 4 and 5 stars in and of themselves.
I thought you were gonna rank Nadira at the top, but I completely agree with your justification for putting Rancic at the top.
I think the decision's clear.
All right. So I want to ask everyone the same question. John?
Yes.
Wes, Lucas, Tripp. Fuck, marry, kill.
Wes, Lucas, Tripp. I mean, Tripp and that other ranger look like they're in a very good relationship. You know what? I'm gonna go with fuck Lucas, kill Wes, marry Tripp.
Interesting. Okay.
Lucas just appeals to me.
All right, Thomas, do you also need a minute, or should I go?
No, I got it. All right, so definitely gonna marry Tripp. He just seems like a fun guy to be around, so that's something I'd want for the rest of my life. Lucas is a more attractive male, in my opinion, so I'll fuck him and then kill Wes.
Thomas had the exact same reasoning I had in my mind.
Did I? Nice.
Look, Lucas is hot, and Tripp seems fun, so that's about...
Interesting, because I would fuck Tripp, marry Wes for the money, and then kill Lucas.
Ooh, going for the money. That's big brain. I forgot about money.
It's very obvious. To me, Tripp is the most attractive man in the team.
I agree, But the only notes I have for him are that I didn't know his name the whole first episode. I only realized it after when the credits started, when the second episode.
I don't remember hearing Trip's name in the episode either. I just know his name because he's my favorite.
He gives off very side character vibes for the first 2 episodes, and I can understand why. He'll have his own episode, I'm pretty sure.
His mannerisms remind me a little bit of Glenn from The Walking Dead in the show.
Yeah, I see that.
Circuit says Trip's name once in episode 1, and that's it. So for that reason, and I'm a little bit hesitant because I also think Trip is slightly more attractive than Lucas, and it might just be the way that Lucas's hair is gelled, and I have a bias against gelled hair.
I used to gel my hair.
Okay,
I understand.
Oof.
That was a good actual beat. I feel like we've had like a consistent divide between like the Emily Cifuentes opinions and the Thomas John opinions.
Well, I will say, John, you and I agreed on the fact that this shouldn't count as a protagonist dies category for bingo. But aside from that, yeah.
I think whenever there's a disagreement, we're always going to end up in pairs rather than like somebody actually winning. It's always going to be a tie
We
vote.
need a 5th member. How can we assign each other a Power Ranger if we're missing our 5th person?
The audience is our 5th member.
The audience.
based on mostly personality and character, I would marry Lucas, fuck Trip, and kill Wes.
God, Wes didn't get off easy this time.
I don't even think like Wes is a bad character. I just like
no.
You know.
I don't particularly like him. He's fine. I don't not like him.
Yeah, no, I'd same reasoning. Like he, I don't. It's not that I dislike him. It's just gotta kill him.
It's just got to be done. Those were the rules of the game.
Thanks, guys. This has been episode 1 of Backlogged, where we covered episodes 1 and 2. Next episodes we're covering 3 and 4. We'll catch you guys then.
Okay. It's been a blast, but I got a jam. See ya.